You are tuned in to WRFG Atlanta, 89.3 FM, your progressive information station for all of Metro Atlanta via 100,000 tingly watts. From Good Morning Blues to an eclectic mix of great organic programming 24/7 here at Radio Free Georgia, the right station on the left side of the dial, 89.3 FM. Stay tuned.
WRFG Atlanta.
Good morning blues will brighten up your day as you put on your shoes. Yeah, yeah. You know it's got to be the way to wake up each and every day on WRFG in Atlanta. Good morning blues.
Good morning blues.
So boom, there we were. We ended up in May, just like that. And I hope you all survived Cinco de Mayo and all the other timeless jokes that come along with that, like May the 4th be with you, blah, blah, blah. It's done. Okay. Now you got to prepare yourself for the weekend. Please don't forget, in the month of May, it is Buy Your Mother a Goat month. It's very important that we keep these traditions going. We got Mother's Day coming up on Sunday, and I did warn you the other week that the only cool live show I know about is the Joe Granston Band doing their thing early for Mum, 7 till 9 p.m. Perfect. Avoid the brunch crunch. That's over at, where is that? Over in Decatur at Napoleon's, yes, but you can go to Joe Granston's website and pick up on that too. A very intimate, cool, groovy show for your mother or the mother of your children. I have a cool show for you this morning because one of my heroes will be 80 also on Sunday. Is it Sunday or Tuesday? I can't remember. The 11th of May. The fantastic Mr. ERIC Burden is 80 years old and still rocking. So he's supposed to have a new album out that obviously has been hung up. It's weird. He does a new solo album every 9 years. Don't ask me why, but it works because you're really aching for a new one by the time it comes out. And he puts so much into it, it's worth waiting for. So I want you to hear a taster of this. And I would just say to you, in the spirit of we've got to get out of this place and Sky Pilot, and where he used to challenge via the music the status quo of what's going on. He's done a magnificent cover of Buffalo Springfield's 66 protest anthem, For What It's Worth. This came up because a fan backstage, a young fan, said, "Where are the protest songs today?" And he's then, right there and then, I've got to write something about the brutality that's going on in the world. But I couldn't find any better way to say it than them. So he covered For What It's Worth, which is on the new album, which is close to completion. He said, "The music I love was created by the sons and daughters of slaves. My life's work has always been about honoring those people who suffered and therefore created a language of peace and salvation through music. Everything we believed in during the 60s, everything people fought and died for, is being jeopardized today."
There I stood in a California sun, searching for peace, hoping for fun, not realizing the age of the assassin had just begun. There's something happening here. What it is ain't exactly clear. There's a man with a gun over there telling me that I got to beware. Stop now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. lines being drawn. Nobody's right if everybody's wrong. Young people speaking their minds, getting so much resistance from behind. Stop now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What a field day for the heat. 1,000 people in the street. They're singing songs and they're carrying signs, mostly saying hooray for our side. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What's going down? All right. Strikes deep into your life, it will creep. It starts when you're always afraid. Step out of line, the man will come and take you away. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. Stop, hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down. What's going down? Oh, Lord. Stop.
Now, what's that sound?
Everybody look.
What's going down?
Stop.
Now, what's that sound?
Everybody look what's going down.
Stop. Now, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
Stop. Hey, what's that sound? Everybody look what's going down.
So that was a sneak from ERIC Burdon's new album, where I will catch up with him again. In the meantime, I'm going to dip into the last interview I did with him on another terrific blues album, solo album, called My Secret Life. And in between the solo pieces of that, I do want to do a retrospective of a lot of the Animals pieces, obscure things maybe you haven't heard, to show the heavy blues side to this guy. It's important that we celebrate. He really is an animal at 80 years old. You just wouldn't know it. And he has one of the most distinctive and soulful voices in rock and roll. He's also quite an accomplished painter and author, as well as being obviously a composer and recording artist. But he's been a traveling blues man for over 50 years. Starting out in Newcastle in the north of England. His accent is still very strong. The driving force in the Animals and a big part of the British invasion. And I think he was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in like 94 and named as one of the great 100 greatest voices, I believe, of all time by Rolling Stone magazine. There's just so much material to put in there. I think the other thing that somebody quoted, he has the most physically imposing voice, and he is that kind of guy. So that's what the majority of this show is going to be about, sprinkled with some new releases. Sit back, suck it up.
Greetings, WRFG friends and family. We have successfully completed our Spring Fund Drive, and we would like to thank all of you who have contributed. We're grateful for all of you who, even through these unprecedented times, have taken the time to show your financial appreciation for our valiant efforts to continue our 24/7, 365 unique, diverse, eclectic, and progressive programming. It's encouraging to know that as we do our best to be there for you, you'll do your best to be here for us. Those who have not yet taken the opportunity to contribute or to fulfill your pledge can still do so by going to our website, wrfg.org, or uploading our WRFG app, or using Cash App at $WRFG893, and the good old-fashioned way by snail mailing your check or your money orders to WRFG Radio, 1083 Austin Avenue Northeast, Atlanta, Georgia, 30307. Thanks again for your ongoing support, and please continue to be safe, edutained, and informed by keeping WRFG on whenever, wherever, and however you choose to listen to us. In Atlanta, we're 89.3 FM, and on the World Wide Web, WRFG.org, your listener-sponsored and supported community radio station for progressive information and hand-picked quality music.
With Hendrix and some very funny things that happen. And if there's some of you out there that say, oh, Bob, I know that this guy's going to be good, I just can't think who it is. Let me give you a little refresher.
Baby, do you understand me now? Sometimes I feel a little mad, but don't you know that no one alive can always be an angel? When things go wrong, I seem to be bad. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. House in New Orleans they call the rising sun, and it's been the ruin of many a poor boy. In God I know I'm one. In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no use in trying. Now my girl, you're so young and pretty, and one thing I know is true: you'll be dead before your time is due. I know. Watch my daddy in bed and crying. Watch his hair been turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. Oh yes, I know. He's been working so hard. Oh, I've been working
fire roaring at my back. As she disappeared, but soon she returned. In her hand was a bottle of wine, in the other a glass. She poured some of the wine from the bottle into the glass and raised it to her lips.
Okay, now you know which Eric Burdon we're talking about. Of course, Eric Burdon and the Animals, Eric Burdon and War. 10 top 20 hits in the late 60s with the Animals, 4 more top 20 hits in the 70s with War, and then went off to do solo albums and make movies and stuff. Brand new album out, excellent stuff called My Secret Life. So in about 10 minutes we'll be talking to Eric Burdon, some very cool stories. So I really enjoy the opportunity to present unique programs, unique music, and some things that you're not going to hear anywhere else. You're not going to hear them in your own record library or certainly on any other radio station, especially this commercial crap that you have here in Atlanta. It's such BS, you know? It's a bunch of giggly little teenage wimps on the end of a microphone who have nothing important to say and certainly don't bring any intelligence to radio, and it's very annoying to even have to deal with it. So let's hope that at least Good Morning Blues brings you some music that is worth listening to and some anecdotes and information that you wouldn't otherwise know. I have something very sad to tell you. Marvin Gaye is dead, and it happened today in 1984. And it's a real shame, and I hate guns, and he and John Lennon and Sam Cooke are all people that are gone because of guns. I hate looking at them. I don't want to see them. We don't see them in England. This is a country where you're going to have to go looking for a gun on a farmer's, shelf somewhere in his attic. We don't carry them. The bad guys carry them once in a blue moon, and everyone says, oh, golly gosh, we better hand over our money. He's got a gun. Because we don't interested in guns, and it's a shame that it's just too easy in America, and these people are gone and they're dead, and it's bad. So hopefully over the next few years we can do something to change that. In relation to Eric Burdon and Marvin Gaye, he has recorded a great song. This is the European single off the new album Secret Life, so that you know how important it was to people like Eric Burdon.
Upon a time when I was in high school, I was in love with a lady. She treated me so cool. I was driving a Chevy 72. It had 4Runner 120 it would do. And I remember Marvin Gaye singing, let's get it on. There was a war, baby, somewhere across the sea. I didn't want to go and fight, girl, 'cause you really loving me. But I remember Martin Luther King. Lord, he was a man, baby, who gave us all a dream. And I remember Marvin Gaye singing, let's get it on. Lord, he made me feel so strong. I remember Marvin Gaye singing, let's get it on.
Yes, I'm crying too. It does that to me. It's ruining my makeup. It's getting all over my shirt. It bothers me because the bloody phones aren't ringing. So come on, guys. A lot of effort goes into this. Pick up the phone and call us. 404-523-8989. We just need some money, honey. And we can keep this going, and you won't have to listen to that commercial junk. And you get lots of cool stuff too. Just pick what you like. I've got 5 or 6 great premiums to add in. All you got to do is show a little love.
And when you strolled on by, girl, all the boys, they want a chance. And I remember Marvin Gaye singing, let's get it on. Love you made me so strong. I remember Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay. Oh, why did he go away? I remember Sam Cooke singing, bring it on home to me.
So octogenarians are a big deal because ERIC will be 80 on Tuesday. Also 80 is the age of the singer who has the #1 album in England as of last week. So very connected, very worthy, another tremendous voice that you got to hear. And a couple of other new bits while we get ready for our chat review from ERIC Burdon.
Defend it with all your might.
I'm growing dimmer in the eyes. I'm growing fainter in my talk. I'm growing deeper in my sighs. I'm growing slower in my walk. I'm growing careless of my dress. I'm growing thrifty with my gold. I'm growing wise. I'm growing, yes, I'm growing old. I'm growing drowsy in my chair. And I no longer ponder life. And though I save a lock of hair, I seldom dream about my wife. I'm growing fonder of the fire. I'm growing mindful of the cold. Oh, comfort me, brother. Something's heavy on my mind. Now I sit and wonder what it is I can't find. Can't find peace all on my own. Can't seem to get there on and on. Come hear me, brother, I won't lie. Now I have been broken. No longer am I blind. My lesser has spoken, and most of me is left behind. Won't find freedom here on my own. Can't seem to get there all alone. So come hear me, brother, I won't lie. You'll never leave me. You'll always be part of the person I'll become. And I'll never leave you. You give me memories that I know could never leave.
She got the mean old emotional powder keg blues. It's just the way she's wired. Didn't get to choose. Keep it cool, but she never sees it through. She got the mean home emotional powder keg blues. Her lover's been a war zone, seen some tricky times. Baby, you've been walking over unexploded mines. And she's dangerous, deceiving, and has nothing left to lose. She got the mean home emotional powder keg blues. Yeah, 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 Find yourself in friendly fire. It ain't no man's land. It's called a grenade, my friend, and the pin's in someone's hand. She's cryptic, cruel, and incandescent. You ain't got a clue. She got the mean.
Hi, this is Dana Gillespie from London, England, to tell you about the second best way to wake up. Just tune in to UK Bob and his Good Morning Blues show and feel good for 4 hours on WRFG Atlanta.
Sir Tom Jones to you. A couple of tracks blended together from the #1 album in England. Octogenarians, they are not, but they do have their tentacles in lots of things. Ali Muss and Mickey Moody at the tail end of that little session there with the emotional Powder Keg Blues, actually written in cohabitated with Monsieur Alan Glenn from the Yardbirds and numerous other shady suspects, from an album called Who's Directing Your Movie, coming out in July. But I have a little sneak peek for you. So, yes, lucky you, aren't you? There'll be some more newbies popping in and out, but mostly this is all about Eric Burdon. So why don't we just jump down that rabbit hole right now? Some cool stuff. Time for Eric Burdon. Those of you that have been waiting patiently to hear Eric talk about Hendrix, his best friend, and a lot of other interesting, cool stuff to do with his new album. Eric sees things visually first. He sees what you would call maybe a VH1 video of a song. He sees it on screen in the back of his head and then has to come up with a way of putting that music and lyrics together to give you the same vision that he had. So please hang with me and we'll be talking to Eric. Now, Eric, on the album cover, some photos and some little pieces that I've tried to make out. Now, I've only had this album a week, and you think I would have got it down by now. I really wanted to absorb the whole content, but you've got dog tags and a logo print on the shirt, and I couldn't determine the meaning. Maybe there isn't one.
The logo on the shirt?
Yeah.
It was actually, it's a knockoff of National Geographic.
Ah, okay.
But my shirt's read National Pornographic with the little yellow symbol on it.
Okay. Now we're connecting. So what's with the dog tags?
The dog tags are... I had a rather torrid affair just recently, which continues to this day. And rather than exchange rings or, necklaces or something, we were in the Palm Springs Air Museum, and they make World War II dog tags there. So I had my lucky number stamped on it, along with a couple of names.
I see. So you're aiming at being the Billy Bob Thornton of the music scene, huh?
Why'd you say that? I've been watching Billy Bob on a video. I just finished it.
Well, isn't that what he did with Angelina Jolie?
He did? I don't know.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, not the dog tags, but they swapped little files of blood and they wear it around their necks rather than tradition.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know about the blood.
Yeah, well, I thought that would be a little too sick for you.
Well, she is Latin, isn't she? I mean, it runs, runs in the family. Runs in the culture.
Well, it's funny that we're going through some of the contents of these songs, which to me, as I was mentioning earlier, great stories that come out of it. But we've got to get to Can't Kill the Boogeyman, which is a very fast, exciting boogie about John Lee Hooker. But I was wondering if you wrote it before or after he died.
Right around the time that he died. We were invited to his birthday bash. It wasn't the first time. We did it every year. And we usually were the B band supporting John Lee. And we did the show and I was in the studio and I had the idea to do the song. It was right around, I can't remember now what
it was. Middle of 2001 that John Lee Hooker died.
But anyway, the week that we finished the major locking in of the major instruments, he died about a week after that.
Ah.
And I played with him at his birthday party about 2 or 3 weeks before that, which is what inspired me to write the lyrics.
I wonder.
I'll tell you what, I know what. I know what it was now. I heard people backstage making like bets on how long John was going to be around, you know, if this was going to be the last birthday party.
Wow.
And that's what made me want to write the song saying, you know, they're placing bets on you, man. Don't listen.
Well, but the other thing that was cool was that it matches the riffs from the old Shake Your Hips.
Yeah.
Was that deliberate?
Yeah, well, whenever I think of John Lee, I think of shake. I think of movement. I think his fingers look like they were snakes.
Yeah.
And that's where the power came from. Because there's I've noticed two guitar players that I've met, Hendrix and John Lee Hooker. And they both had really wet, soft handshakes. But they got the power in the fingers.
Crazy lazy days back in the UK. Art school, we wore a gang sweatshirt. Guess what it said? My political stance was to get people to dance. Still stand by it today. And this is what it said. John Lee Hooker for president. Yeah, baby. Hey. All right. When I was 25 and so full of life, John Lee took me by the hand. At GTO we could go to the fiery heart of the ghetto land. Living in a land where no man is no man. Till it's been to hell and back. One thing you gotta understand. Can't kill the boogeyman. Yeah. Can't kill the boogeyman. Can't kill the boogeyman. We're placing bets on you, John. Don't listen. I tell everybody, as long as you're around, the blues will always be living. Can't kill the boogeyman. Can't kill the boogeyman. Can't kill the boogeyman. No. Lord, his ever shaking hand. A buzz around the room. The power of a serpent in his fingers. Relax and leave. And let your mind drift away. You gotta be safe. Boogie the night away. No, can't kill the boogeyman. 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 You know what they're talking about, John. Your birthday, I get to play. I tell everybody, as long as you're around, the blues will be living. That's what's coming down.
Now, without being too morbid, there's a lot of death reflected in the album lyrics, and it's something that makes me write as well. Now, is it where you're celebrating the legacy of the person that's gone, or is it just sadness coming through?
I think about death a lot. I mean, let's face it, it's one of the most important parts of our life. Something we all have to face. But I think thinking about it a lot keeps you in a space where you want to treasure every living moment.
Absolutely.
Because you know it can happen to you anytime, because it's happened to other people that you've known over the years time and time again, and they outwardly were much healthier and much stronger than I was, and yet they're gone.
Well, you know, you've lived this huge life, bigger than most of us could imagine. So I think, you know, when you reflect on it that way, are you often surprised at the number of people that you've lost around you? I mean, here's an example. Dave Robery, lastly, the editor of Blues in Britain, when that happened, somebody just called on a cell phone to her. They were trying to get into his flat in Putney to pick him up.
Yeah.
And several other people. You mentioned Jimmy. You and Jimmy were very tight. From everything that I've read, did you ever figure out the reason and the purpose for the two of you being friends?
I think that I had an escape hatch that quite a lot of people used because I had an apartment in the West End of London. So whoever was shopping or hanging out in the West End, in the center of the city, nobody lived in the center of the city. I was the only person that lived in the center of the city, except one of my neighbors was Brian Epstein, but even he was not as central as I was. I'm talking about Piccadilly, right in the heart of, you know, like almost Soho. I had an apartment, and it overlooked a place called Ham Yard, which below it was a club called the Scottish St. James, which anybody who was anybody in the music business hung out there, with Yoko Ono's art gallery next door. So whenever Jimmy wanted to escape and he was coming from a gig, he would, you know, come upstairs and hang out with me and listen to my Bang Olufsen speakers, which he was amazed at. And one thing we listened to more than anything was the 1812 Overture.
Wow.
It was incredible.
And so
Yeah,
even
great,
then
you know,
you were supporting Germany's culture even then with Bang & Olufsen.
Yeah. Well, it's funny to think of Hendrix listening to 1812, but he was amazed at the clarity of the sound of the system that I had, I think, as well as the music that we listened to. But, you know, he was, to me, I mean, I went out of my way to make friends with him because I knew he was a stranger in a strange land, and I knew that he was black and he was an American. Jesus, tough enough being black in America at that point in time, never mind being black in London.
Right.
And, people were making all kinds of, weird remarks about the poor guy. I mean, back then, we even had black and white minstrel show on TV.
Well, that's what you refer to.
I was sitting with Hendrix one night when the black and white minstrel show came on.
But
and he had enough grace to not even mention it because he was in England. He wasn't at home.
You and I are used to seeing that, and I think at the time nobody related to it being anything negative. But yes, if I'd have had someone like Jimmy sitting next to me, maybe I would have suddenly realized, ooh, this is a little uncomfortable. But we treated it as pure entertainment.
Absolutely. I mean, there was some great moments with Jimmy that I will never forget. I mean, I had a jacket that was given to me by Lord Bedford, the son of the Duke of Bedford. And he gave me a jacket, the Hussar's jacket. Hendrix loved it so much, he wanted one like it, and I told him to go shopping down Portobello Road, and he found one. It was his favorite jacket. It's the one that you see in all the photographs, black and white, and it's got all this beautiful braid on it and everything. And he walked into a bar in Chelsea with that jacket on during the afternoon, and there was an old Chelsea pensioner standing at the bar dressed in his bright red uniform. And he looked at this, wild American black guy with the bouffant hair and the purple pants on and a sacred military jacket. And he just looked up at him, and he said, I'm a Chelsea pensioner. He said, what's for the jacket, you know? And Hendrix just said, 101st Airborne, 14 jumps. And the guy saluted him and said, oh, thank you very much. Served with you lot during World War II. And it was wonderful. The exchange between this guy was like half the size that Hendrix was. You had to look up at him, you know.
Door on a Hong Kong man, made his living selling heroin. Check the cactus, it don't need no water. TV said it was quite a slaughter. Time to hook down on the Plymouth Roadrunner. Put the cigar right on, I like the smell of the flavor. Check your mirror, and did you check the radiator? Where we going? Where we going? Over the border. Where we going? Where we going? Over the border. I caught a plane out of Cincinnati. He was a third generation. Kind of pretty. He laughed as he asked me for a favor. I put a 9mm in his ear and said, I'll see you later. Time to hook down on the Plymouth Roadrunner. Put the cigar right on, don't let the smell of the flavor.
Sometimes it feels like the pandemic has been going on forever. And you know, the only way we're going to get through this is by following the rules, starting with practicing social distancing when you're around anyone outside your immediate household. Now, many people who are carrying the virus don't even know they're infected, so you gotta wear a mask over your nose and mouth whenever you're in public. In fact, health experts say that if we'd all wear 2 masks, a paper surgical mask under a cloth mask that fits, we might be able to cut the transmission rate by as much as 90%. So what about the vaccine? Researchers are learning more about COVID-19 every day, so even if you've been vaccinated, they say you still have to follow the rules and mask up to reduce the risk that you could still spread the virus. If you're having trouble getting the vaccine, we posted the State Health Department's guide to finding a vaccination site at wrfg.org. And please remember, none of us are truly safe until we're all safe. In Atlanta, we're 89.3 FM. Your independent community radio station is streaming worldwide over our free mobile app, TuneIn, and wrfg.org.
Found him. He was sent by Charles to meet with me because he knew that I could handle these black guys. I knew how to talk to them. I had that reputation. Black people have always been in my world ever since I was like 15 or 16 years of age. So they sent Jimmy to hang out with me and get used to being in London. When he got off the plane from New York, we sat and talked. The TV was on, and there was this BBC program. It was called the Black and White Minstrel Show. And it was white men with black faces. Black people abhorred, they hated it. I left the TV on to see what his reaction would be, to tell you the truth. Hendrix, he didn't bat an eyelid. He just sat there and he took it. He didn't even talk about it, didn't mention it. And that's when I knew that he was going to do whatever it took to be famous. Hendrix pressed the self-destruct button with the act of burning the guitar on stage, which like really drove audiences wild. But you can't do that every night of the week. You can't do that same thing. That was when I realized that the guy that I saw in Jimmy, the blues guy, wasn't really there. He was a showman above being a blues guy, and he knew that being a show guy would make him more money and he'd have more girls on his arm than if he stayed singing the blues that we really loved him for. He came to jam with me at Ronnie Scott's Club, and I think that by then he was doing heroin. I could smell the aura of smack, coming off of him. And I told him, no, go away, I don't want you to make a fool of yourself, Because the audience at Ronnie Scott's Club are real hardcore music people, and I want you to shine like you can't shine here. And I know that he came down to see me because I had a black band and they were black Americans, and he was lonely by then. I mean, he wasn't lonely for women. They were all sitting at the front table, like 6 of them sitting there waiting for him to finish, But he was lonely, And he came down, I think 2 nights later, and he was like clean. And he had his favorite guitar with him, and we jammed together. And then he left without even saying. He just waved and he was gone. And I got a telephone call later on that night, and it was his girlfriend saying, I can't wake him up. And I said, call an ambulance, and she still didn't do it, so it was too late. It was too late.
The Jimi Hendrix experience is over. The acid rock musician died today in a London hospital, apparently from an overdose of drugs.
I was there the first day he arrived in England, and I was there when he was found dead in his girlfriend's flat. Really sad. It was really sad. All I wanted to do was find some kind of solace somehow. I canceled what I was doing, and I went back to Los Angeles. I just wanted to feel the sun on my face,
Well, this is... it's evoked a lot of stories in my head about my youth and all these different songs on what I think is an excellent album. I'm so glad that whatever happened at the Albert Hall that night while I was talking to Chris Farlow, maybe your spirit was walking through the hallways there, because it was literally the next morning that I picked up the album. And certainly here in Atlanta, I know we have a huge realm of blues lovers that are hopefully going to get into this, and you're going to wear yourself out, my friends. The amount of touring that you've been doing. I was taking a quick look at your agenda. You've just spent a couple of weeks around Germany. You've been running around the USA as well. I'm looking at somewhere around 90 days of continuous, splitting up a US tour with 25 nights out of 30 playing in Germany, then coming back and continuing on June the 26th with the US tour. And I think you get 1 day off between Germany and America. So
yeah, it's going to be rough, but what can I tell you? It's too late now.
You're right. There's not a whole lot can be done now. It's booked in the bag. But I think it's tremendous that there's still the opportunity to have you do that amount of live work, which certainly to us in Atlanta is the key. This city is very big on seeing live music and listening and watching the artist do his thing, as opposed to just buying records, which unfortunately is still the easy way out in London. So I'm hoping that somewhere down this road you'll get a chance to come down south to the heart of the blues and show people what ERIC BURDON Live is all about.
Well, I look forward to that day. We'll have to get on it once I get through with this year. And I'm hoping to take October off and disappear somewhere.
Well, you better mark it in somebody's calendar and sign it, or it's not going to happen, you know? Well, I think that the life that you've had and the volume of things that you've accomplished over the time period, it would be quite staggering if we were able to do what you mentioned earlier and somehow capture all that on a quick video. Maybe the time will come when we're both still around where they can walk up, stick a little chip in the back of your head and take all those memory banks and put them on a DVD for you. But you know, the scary part would be playing it back.
Yeah, we'd have to start right now. Right here, right now.
Right here.
You know, I'll tell you, there's a lot of things that I still want to do, or sometimes I really honestly think that I haven't yet started. And then there's other times, like today, when I'm like, really, oh man, I gotta go out on the road again tomorrow. Jeez, I just got back from Germany. But, you know, it's those two aspects that lock me in to the point of where I ain't got the time to get my head into my artwork, because to do artwork you've got to be focused and you got to be inspired. You got to have the studio. You got to have the time. And unfortunately, I ain't got any of that at the moment. Well, I have some of it, but not all of it. But I'm building a studio, so in the future, who knows?
Well, look, don't take on too many projects. You got to get that calendar out and cross off some days for just staring at the skyline or something. Yeah.
Oh, I do that a lot when I'm out here. That's why I live where I live.
Well, Eric, it's been wonderful to hear the stories of the new album and talking about some of the things in the past and what you're going to be doing this year. And we really do appreciate you here on Good Morning Blues. And WRFG certainly is going to be pleased to be able to present your new album over the next few months in the hope that America gets a chance to hear the current feelings and sounds and thoughts that are obviously flying around your head.
Well, I appreciate the talk. It was really good. I enjoyed talking to you. And I hope we'll meet face-to-face somewhere along the line. Don't be a stranger.
No, not me. I said to Chris,
together.
round the outside of the Albert Hall in a corridor, you just never know who you're going to bump into. Yeah. Eric, thank you so much. It's been wonderful.
All right,
This part
thanks.
of an interview with Eric Burden, and I wish to thank Eric personally for taking so much time to talk to me over the weekend for an hour and a half about life, blues, Hendrix, and a lot of funny things and a lot of interesting things that go through his head. He's a great artist as well as a great singer, and he mentally arranges a lot of great things for us to hear. And if you get a chance, hear some more from his album, My Secret Life. We've heard a couple of pieces during that interview, blended in, very well written, a great lyricist, probably unappreciated by those who don't appreciate the blues. A blues lover would really appreciate the content of that. So thanks to Eric. He was jet-lagged in California. He had one day come in from Germany, having been on tour for 3 weeks. You can look at his agenda on his website. Please go visit ericburdon.com. You will see for yourself. He had one day, and he had to rush off to play in Canada the next day. So very gracious of him to give us the time. He was very weary, but he was still up for it. And that's what we want to hear from you. Are you up for it? There's a lot of effort goes into bringing you something cool and unique, and we're very glad that we have the opportunity to not have to suffer through commercial radio. So we need your support to call us at 404-523-8989 and tell us that, yes, you're doing the right thing, and it's important that we continue to do so. We can't do that.
Radio station WRFG now. Every morning, that's the only place you want to be. It's 89.3 there on your radio dial, with UK Bobbies playing the blues to start your day with a smile. Hi, I'm Robin Beebe from Berrylands, Surbiton, South London. And you're listening to WRFG Atlanta's Good Morning Blues with UK Bob. He is your man.
Oh, Robin, please stop saying that in public. We're going to get into trouble. Anyway, the time has come. Part 2 of last week's ERIC BURDON interview coming up. This guy has some great stories, and now that I've reminded you all who he was, let me tell you where we are in the conversation. He'd asked me, he said, Bob, how on earth did you get hold of this album? My Secret Life is not out here in America till next week, May the 11th. I've been playing it here for 3 weeks. And he suddenly tuned into the fact that it was a few weeks early and he was on American radio. And this is how it went down. I'll tell you how this happened. 2 Thursdays ago, I was at the Albert Hall. I was at the Ronnie Lane Memorial Concert. And I'm in a back hallway talking to Chris Farlow.
Yeah.
Very briefly. And all of a sudden, don't ask me why, I thought that you passed by. Obviously it wasn't you, but the next day I'm out shopping in Oxford Street doing my big collection of music to bring back on the rare or new releases, and there's your album sitting in the rack, and I said, that must be a sign. Buy it and leave. So I grabbed it and was wonderfully surprised. Playing it in my rental car all around the city, I was just knocked out by this diverse collection of a variety of things, and yet it's still very distinctly ERIC BURDON. So I called Simon in Munich, and here we are. How do you rate the results of what you created now you've had time to absorb it?
Well, I didn't listen to it for a long time, you know. It's always an anxious period when you're waiting for a deal to go ahead, and we had a lot of waiting to do after the initial rush of creating the music, which went really smooth, really easy. Great working relationship with Tony Browning, who was my producer, and he was once in one of my many bands in the 80s as a drummer. So we know each other, and that's what I was looking for. I was looking for a producer that would have a real personal approach towards me. Because, you know, as a singer, if you get something that's not exactly right, or you're singing a little off, or you're having a bad day, you know, when a producer says, I didn't like what you did there, he's not saying, you know, I don't think your guitar playing was quite at the standard, you can do that solo again. When it's for the singer, it's like, I don't like what you personally. So a producer has to, with a singer, has to understand that. And so Tony was a perfect choice for me, and he proved himself in the field of production by having a very successful album with Taj Mahal, award-winning album. So, you know, we got to work, and he got his little black book of musicians and connections there in L.A. with an incredible amount of musicians that live there. Most of them, I must add, are Texans from Houston. And there's a strange connection, always has been, with the Texas philharmonic here in Hollywood and the Brits. For some reason, they mix together well. I don't know why.
You're right, that is strange. Now, 8 of the 13 were written by you, and I have to say, great lyrics that, to me, project stories that are very clear and vivid. Now, you know, I'm from London, so maybe I'm interpreting them differently from other people, but I could really relate to this. Has this project been in your head a long time?
No, not the project. Well, I mean, what do you call a long time in this business? I mean...
Well, you know, let's say 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. And I've been working on this, trying to pull this project together. but I never consciously started out knowing what the album was going to sound like. I had some demos that I did with my guitar player, and some ideas that were the wellspring of my relationship with a friend of mine in Brazil, who helped a great deal to get me to record. You know, he was like, "Why not? You got to do it. You know, it's just, come on." And I'll come up the States and we'll hang out and we'll talk about it. And I was like, "Yeah, okay, let's, come meet me in California." And I said, "Screw that, man. Let's go to New York where the real people are." I was like, "Yeah, all right." So we hung out for a week in Manhattan, and we came up with some ideas, and we looked for a studio. We couldn't find one. So we went across to New Jersey, and we found these punks in New Jersey, and we went into the studio with these kids who had no idea who we were or what we wanted, and it was just like, "All right, play this tempo. Da, 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 da. You can do that, can't you?" "Yeah." And then I slung a bass over the top of it, and I did some lyrics on it, and that first attempt was a song called "The Devil's on the Loose," which suited the punk idiom perfectly. And I rewrote it, and it turned into "The Devil's Slide," which for me was a great period in my life of being on the road with Louisiana Red, who is searching for the holy grail of the slide guitar. And he ended up, and this is the story of him ending up in France and Germany on tour, and after every meal he would stick his fingers into the neck of a bottle to see if he could steal the bottle and break it off, and that would become his ultimate slide. So that's what the song's about.
Well, that's what they say, is that the glass makes the...
glass is the best. And that's what he kept repeating in his dreams and everything. He would go, "Oh man, I can picture this slide, that maybe Eric's gonna help me with some connections with some industrial people that he knows in England. He's laying all this shit on me. You must know some people, man, that own factories. Maybe they could make me a slide, with encrusted diamonds in it and shit. And I'm like, wait a minute, And then he go, but Muddy always said glass is the best. You can't go past glass.
Well, if glass is the best, then we need to let our audience hear track 10 from the album Daniel, talking to ERIC BURDON in California. We're talking about his new album, My Secret Life, and we're going to listen to track 10 now, Devil's Slide.
Y'all recall Big Red spent most of his life out on the road, searching for that enigmatic devil slide. But he could never forget what Muddy said: glass is the best. We was on that midnight train traveling to San Sebastian, Spain, when he took a dead bottle of Beaujolais, slipped his ring finger into its neck, and broke off the remains. Then he looked at me with a gleam in his eye, said, "Eric, look out, here comes the devil slide." Waving his brand new pitchfork. He's still looking good. He's been polishing his horns in order to bleed souls, even those who've never been born. The devil's on the loose, riding in a brand new car.
us a story about Big Red, because that answered
Big
my
Red,
question.
man, he's such a character. I love the guy. He's really cool.
Now there's some wonderful lyrics that evoke all kinds of thoughts in my head. First off, we're coming up for Jazz Fest in New Orleans, and you lucky guy, you've got John Cleary and Ivan Neville helping you out with this stuff, and it certainly clicked in my head when I looked at the artists when I get to track 4, The Secret, because it's got this very voodoo feel about it with Ivan Neville on piano.
Yeah, it's a real southern funk, swamp. I've got a video running through my head for it, which is like bizarre, and but in a very direct, like a news reportage, as against the dreamscape.
Kind of a documentary style?
Yeah. Well, it's, it's the dark side. To me, it's the dark side of New Orleans, of which not many people will admit to it, but there is a dark side of New Orleans, And that it conjures up that for me, and maybe, not certainly not hoodoo, but voodoo.
But it's that feeling. I love New Orleans, fabulous place, and
it's great. It's the whole state of Louisiana's history is just incredible, and it's something that I want to in the future write a novel form, about New Orleans. It won't let go. It's the house, the rising sun. It just won't lie down.
Right. Well, I mean, the way I interpreted it, and you'll have to steer me, is that in that song, The Secret, what is the secret? Am I observing a suicide here?
Well, it's worse than that. It's close to that. I'm glad you said that, because I wasn't gonna expand upon it, but in the opening sequence of that song as a video, I say police yellow tape, do not cross, and it's in one of those New Orleans cemeteries.
You really do have a visual when you write this stuff, don't you? You can see it.
Well, I'm hoping somewhere by some magical formula that I can hook in with somebody who's got not only the talent but the power to implement some visual sequences to my music, be it just videos or I don't know what, that is such an open field, and it's such a field that it's not really acknowledged today. It's acknowledged by the audience when they're sitting in the cinema and they watch an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie or something, and the music and the soundtrack is overpoweringly loud these days in all of these mega films, and the music is such an important element in that form of entertainment, but it's never been done differently, Rarely has it been done differently. One or two directors are hip to the fact that music is sound, and sound is music, and music and sound are a beat, and therefore it can give you a beat to a play, to a motion picture play or a stage play. It gives a beat to it.
Well, let's give people a taste of...
Watch you Jewel Blanc when you thought no one was around. Won't you walk down to the bayou's edge and gently lay your body down? Your secret was my secret, and it was all that I could do to keep it to myself. And the power that I felt, but somebody must have seen and burned a sacred candle in my name. 'Cause now there's a spell on me, and I'm caught up in your purgatory chain. Found our body just this morning out behind St. Genevieve. Oh, that's the sacred place I won't let them desecrate. The shrine you built for me.
Greetings, WRFG friends and family. We have successfully completed our Spring Fund Drive, and we would like to thank all of you who have contributed. We are grateful for all of you who, even through these unprecedented times, have taken the time to show your financial appreciation for our valiant efforts to continue our 24/7, 365 unique, diverse, eclectic, and progressive programming. It is encouraging to know that as we do our best to be here for you, you will do your best to be here for us. Those who have not yet taken the opportunity to donate, you still can by going to our website, wrfg.org, uploading our WRFG app, or using Cash App at $WRFG893. And the good old-fashioned way by snail mailing checks or money orders to WRFG Radio, 1083 Austin Avenue, Northeast Atlanta, Georgia, 30307. Thanks again for your continual support, and please continue to be safe, edutained, and informed by keeping WRFG on whenever, wherever, and however you choose to listen to us. In Atlanta, we are 89.3 FM, and on the World Wide Web, WRFG.org, your listener-sponsored and supported community radio station for progressive information and handpicked quality music.
I was crazy about music. So as soon as somebody gave me a microphone in one of the local jazz clubs and I got up on stage, they let me sing one song a night. And then it became 2 songs a night. And then over a passage of time, I had my own little spot for half an hour. One day, my father said to me, I want to know who these people are that you're hanging out with. I want to know what you're doing, because you can't stay out your age. You can't stay out until 11 o'clock at night. I took him there to the jazz club, and they all came out and shook his hand, and they patted me on the head and said, he's a good little kid, man. And my dad liked it. He thought it was great. And he said, look, you can come here anytime you want. Just be home by 10:30 on the last train. And don't tell your mom that I said this,
The Animals. Pianist Alan Price, drummer John Steele, bassist Chaz Chandler, guitarist Hilton Valentine, and vocalist ERIC Burden were recruited from different bands on the local scene. They formed in early 1963 as the house band of the Club A Go-Go.
Well, I play the blues there every day and every night. Everybody monkeys and they feel all right. Oh, yeah. Ask my friend Eric, he'll tell you so. Say what? Ain't no place like the Club A Go-Go. I said, come on, baby. Oh, don't you want to go? Booker, Jerome Green, Rolling Stones, Memphis Slim, Jimmy Reed, Sonny Boy Williamson, baby. And when the house band plays, the house is full. You know why? The little band called the Animals. I said, come on, baby. Well, don't you wanna go in the town where the river town flows? Talking about the club a go-go.
How I've loved you since the day you first told me your name. Yes, I have loved you, thinking you all the while felt the same. How I've loved you, but your kisses don't taste the same. Ooh, how I've loved you since the day I first walked you from school. Yes, I've loved you, breaking all of love
of an old abandoned fort. When I touched the hand of my brother Bill, it was stiff as a running boat. They put the last clean shirt on my brother Bill. They put the last clean shirt on my brother Bill.
Louis Armstrong came to Newcastle. I was very young, when 9 or 10, and I couldn't get a ticket. There was a doorway leading into the city hall's backstage area, 2 big doors. The doors didn't quite meet, so I could put my ear on the door and I'd be able to hear Armstrong playing through the door, and I was like banging my head against the door. And Jack Teagarden, who was a trombone player, he came out, and I remember his big, huge hand on my shoulder, and he goes, "Hey kid, come with me, I want to show you something." And I was like, "Oh, okay," And we went into the dressing rooms in the back. Louis Armstrong sitting on a big high chair, and he had a big spliff. He was like smoking this big marijuana joint. And I was like, "Wow, what's that smell?" And he was like, "It's the smell of success, son."
They were the first records with full-blown class consciousness that I'd ever heard. And that was just the clock, man, the clock marking time, In this dirty old part of the city where the sun refused to shine, people tell me there ain't no sense in trying. See my daddy in bed and dying, see his hair turning gray. He's been working and slaving his life away. Yes, I know we gotta get out of this place. If it's the last thing we ever do, we gotta get out of this place. Girl, there's a better life for me and you. Yes, I know it's true. That's every song I've ever written. That's all of them. I'm not kidding either. That's Born to Run, Born in the USA. Everything I've done for the past 40 years, including all the new ones.
This is John Cleary from New Orleans, Louisiana, and you're listening to UK Bob, the Good Morning Blues.
I was born in a dump. My mother died. My daddy, he got drunk. Yeah. Left me here to die or grow in the middle of Tobacco Road. I grew up in dusty shack, get back. All I owned was hanging on my back. Lord above knows how I loathe, yeah, this place called Tobacco Road, but it's home. Ever known. And the Lord knows how I know. Tobacco road, tobacco road. Well, I'm gonna leave and get a job with the help of the Lord above. I'll get me some money, get rich I know, and bring it back to Tobacco Road. 'Cause it's when you complain and criticize, I feel I'm nothing, baby, in your eyes. You make me feel like giving up, baby, 'cause my best just cannot be good enough. Girl, I'm gonna provide for you. Do all the things you want me to, yeah. Oh no, don't bring me down, baby. Don't bring me down, yeah. Sacrifices I'm willing to make. I wanna give to you as well as take. One thing I need is a little respect, baby. One thing I can't stand, all this neglect, yeah. More than anything I need your love. Trouble's easy to rise, oh no, don't bring me down, girl. Oh no, don't bring me down.
Eric, the one that really caught my attention on a commercial basis was, of course, the Robert Bradley song "Once Upon a Time," a great pop soul commercial piece, and it's actually going to be the European single. Is that right?
Yeah, it's out. It's being played on the radio already over there.
It's not strictly blues at all, but evokes a very, what I call a summer groove memory of anybody over 45. When you're talking about Marvin, Otis, Sam Cooke, these are people that I think are very strong here in the South.
And the gypsy dress waving in the wind, moving in the hot Georgia breeze.
There you go. Now Bradley is kind of a Ted Hawkins style street soul troubadour kind of guy.
He's wonderful.
How did you connect with him in this song?
I heard the album first, I think, and then I went to the San Diego Street Fair and I saw him play, and I heard it again and fell in love with it, and I went backstage and met him and said, "Man, I want to record that song." He said, "Be my guest."
Yeah, very, very catchy. To me, a great radio song, very commercial appeal, and it really does hit home to people, certainly those of my age and older, who will feel the same kind of feelings. I mean, you grew up in Newcastle in the late 50s. Going on to another track here, I wanted to relate to that soul vibe that was going on. In London, we also got into ska music. And I noticed on track 8 in Black and White World, you've got this very distinct ska beat. Is that something that was going on in Newcastle too?
No, London. That's from my observations in going to London on weekends to buy records and hang out with people like Alexis Corner, and then figure out that there were black clubs in London,
right?
And going to one or two of the black Jamaican joints, and hearing the real island reggae with the huge, massive bass end, you know.
Right.
But then I remember there was either a movement or there was one or two bands of white kids that were playing their interpretation of reggae, and it was the ska movement, and I remember it very well, and seeing kids play that in the clubs. I never got it out of my mind, and the subject matter though is about a movie theater that I used to go to in my hometown to see foreign movies, the kind of stuff that you didn't see at the Regal or the Apollo or whatever, you know. And this place was called the Stall, and it was in London, in Newcastle's north end of the city. And so I was exposed to real classic French noir crimi movies like what was the name of that? Rififi, and Bridget Bardot movies, and they were all in black and white, you know, and that was our escape. I mean, our world outside in Newcastle back then was black and white. I saw everything in black and white, but the escape to the movies and go into this dreamscape for, you know, three hours in the afternoon, and that's what the song's about, is going to the movies and playing hooky from school or whatever, and getting off on the images that remain in my head today, bright and clear. I mean, I saw everything in terms of black and white. It wasn't until I came to America that I saw things in color. And I must admit that I still, harbor a place in my heart for those days, for those black and white movies, black and white experiences, everything in either black and white or tones of gray.
Well, it's funny because my exact note here was to mention to you that to me, going to the cinema when I was growing up in the 60s was pure escapism. I would disappear. I'd melt back into the chair and I'd be part of what was going on the screen. And you obviously reflect the same things, but I notice in your artwork, you prefer to work in a black and white mode.
Yeah, I started out with being a big fan of David Stone Martin, who did most of the jazz album covers. He did a lot of covers for Blue Note and Verve, I think, and they were all black and white illustrations of jazzmen in action. And then there's another great artist called Hans Belmer who just works in pencil in black and white, and yet they are the artists that have had more effect on me than even the wonderful colors that were produced by people like Salvador Dali and Pablo Picasso. Yeah, black and white world.
Yeah, definitely, because I'm getting the same vibe. And you mentioned the jazz feel, a lot of the jazz prints and movies of the time. Track number 7, Jazzman, about Chet Baker and Billie Holiday.
Yeah.
I remember Sunday night at the London Palladium too, but I haven't figured out what the Silver Cup is.
The Silver Cup was Football Association.
Oh, okay.
Cup, which Newcastle won 6 times.
I should have guessed that there was a connection there. See, being a Londoner, I'll deny it ever happened,
Well, yeah, it says that the insecurity during back in those innocent days, was like, okay, we won the cup, where we're going to put it? In the clubhouse now, we can't put it there, somebody will steal it. back then, there wasn't security companies and stuff like that. So it was given to my father for safekeeping.
Really?
And we had it in our house on the mantelpiece.
That's
And
amazing.
The kids would come home from school, and I would show them this thing, and they would like, wow, and they'd open the lid and stick their heads in and smell, and go, oh, what's that smell? And my old man would say, yeah, that's the smell of success, son.
You sure it wasn't the smell of Nobby Styles' haircut?
It was the smell of, I think, a mixture of champagne and Guinness.
For anybody that's listening, we're talking to Eric Burden. He's explaining the content of track 7 of My Secret Life called Jazz Man, and I was asking him where the silver cup came from. This is the Football Association Cup, the biggest trophy. Would you say the biggest trophy in English football?
Yeah, it used to be. I haven't checked on it lately, but it's still there.
Well, May the 22nd, we get to do it all over again.
Yeah.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
Let's give the audience a quick listen to Jazz Man about Chet Baker, Billie Holiday, and the FA Cup.
In Paris in the pouring rain, I saw the sweet life going down the drain. The Adonis of the horn, standing in the doorway, bayonet fixed, waiting for the dealer and his current trick. Chet was God and I was just 15, and he was already dead inside his drink. Jazz man, blowing the blues away. Jazz man, don't blow yourself away. You don't blow yourself away. On Broadway, New York, when I was being reborn, the copper rain with Philly Joe Jones on the drums, rapping about how he was gonna stop the war. You know, the one that's still going on.
And now for a Public Affairs Bulletin Board announcement. The Housing Justice League fights for renters and homeowners in Georgia for housing justice. If you are facing eviction, unfair fees, or bad living conditions, you are not alone. For information about your rights, the Tenant Power Hotline at 404-946-9953 for information about your rights and support to build power to fight back. To learn more about the Housing Justice League or to sign up to volunteer, the hotline at 404-946-9953 or the website housingjustice.league.org. That's Housing Justice, LEAGUE.org. Public Affairs Bulletin Board announcement from your station for progressive information and hand-picked quality music. WRFG 89.3 FM, WRFG.
It was a dream, just a dream I had on my mind. But when I woke up this morning, no White House could I find. I dreamed I had an invitation to the White House. It was the first of the year. The president said, "Eric, I'm sure glad you're here.
I've inherited the country that's running wild. He said, I'm so frustrated, I'm asking you for your advice, but it was a dream, just a dream I had on my mind. And when I woke up this morning, no president could I find. I said, you gotta open up those borders. I'm talking about the North and the South. Let's make friends with our neighbors. We can turn this thing around. We should make friends with the Canadians. They've got more than just snow. And there's a labor force waiting in the land of Mexico. It's a dream, just a dream I had on my mind. But when I woke up this morning, no president could I find.
It is rumoured that you were very significant in part of one of the Beatles songs called I Am the Walrus.
No, I was the Eggman.
The Eggman. Yeah. Please tell that story. It's a wonderful story.
Well, there's a couple of versions of it. I'll give you the B version, okay. John Lennon and I were at a sex orgy in London. We opened up an icebox, a refrigerator, and there was eggs in there. Anyway, it caused John Lennon to go, go on, Eggman, give it a shot. And I took out an egg and went, boom, splat, all over this big, huge ass. It was hilarious. And that's how I became the Eggman. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
I know the story differently.
That's my wife talking. I knew this would be a problem.
Is it during sex that you just broke an egg in her back or something like that?
That is correct.
Then why don't you just say the fucking correct story?
Have I ever done it to you, baby?
No, but...
Then you should be happy.
different.
Can we move on? The devil in Jesus. The devil in Jesus. The devil and Jesus controlling my soul. They fight with each other, but I pay the toll. For years they've been fighting for a piece of my mind. Which one will win and leave the other behind? The devil in Jesus. The devil in Jesus. The devil in Jesus, I have to agree. Each one in my heart has planted a seed. But I ain't no different from any of you. I look at myself and I see them there too.
The devil in Jesus. The devil in Jesus. Be careful, my friend, which side you feel. The monster inside soon will be revealed. There's a place I've been told, every street is paved with gold, and it's just across the borderline. Freddie Fender wrote the song Across the Borderline. It's such a great song. It's what I always wanted to sing it. 'Cause you paid the price to come so far, just to wind up where you are, and you're still just across the borderline. Borders have always been a part of my concept of life. The Romans built a wall all the way across Britain to keep us apart. I just have a love for the border, you know. I wanted to move to California because I was going to be next to Mexico. I love their culture, and their culture's been ripped apart because of us. 'Cause you paid the price to come this far, just to wind up where you are, and you still just across the borderline. Thank you, Freddie Fender. I had a Corvette, 357 fuel-injected car, not even standing still, parked. It looked like it was going 150 miles an hour. And people were intimidated by it. I had old sports car type guys in London going, disgusting, shouldn't be allowed on the road. Have you got a license for that thing? Oh my God, where did that come from? You know. And then I got challenged to races. And in one race in particular, a beautiful movie star, the bar being protected by a bunch of really heavy rotor heads, you know. And one of them came across me and he says, is that your sports car? It's like your Corvette. I said, yeah, it is. He goes, would you like to take a race through Chelsea? I went, yeah. So we all get in our cars, we all take off, and we're going through Chelsea. And I'm looking at them in the mirror because I'm like way ahead. That car led to many doors opening. Sometimes I would go into a dark corner and I cry about that car. I'm crying, I'm crying. Hear me cry, baby. Hear me cry. Ashes to ashes and dust to dust. If the women don't get you, Bo Diddley must. We were two ships passing in the night. We never did meet eye to eye. I was given this gift without asking. This is my way of saying goodbye. So I'm riding on that boat, diddly special. I'm riding on that boat, diddly line. checking out the long old beat wherever it goes. From the streets of Mississippi all the way to Tokyo, the most African American I ever did know. So I'm riding on that old diddly special. I'm riding on that old diddly line. Goodbye, old diddly. Goodbye, so long. We're all gonna miss you, but your spirit lives on. Goodbye, old diddly. I guess I waited too long. Goodbye, old diddly. Goodbye. So I'm riding on that old diddly special. I'm riding on that old diddly line. Diddly that.
Special tribute to celebrate the 80th birthday of Eric Burden on May the 11th. Still rocking. Going to leave you with one odd obscurity, nothing to do with him, just a quieter way to finish out the session for our 2 hours. Mr. Steve Forbett has recovered Good Time Charlie's Got the Blues with Mr. John Sebastian on harmonica. I'll see you next week.
Everybody's gone away. Said they're moving to LA. There's not a soul I know around. Everybody's leaving town. Some caught a freight, some caught a plane. Find the sunshine, leave the rain. They said this town's a waste of time. I guess they're right, it's wasted mine. Some's gotta win, some's gotta lose. Good time Charlie's got the blues. Good time Charlie's got the blues. My heart keeps telling me you're not a kid at 33. You play around, you lose your wife. You play too long, you lose your life. I got my pills